hobby family? It is your boy K-Dub. This is K-Dub's High Five, 5 rapid fire questions with your favorite hobby faces. And today we bring in one of the young guns of the hobby community, my good friend TJ at TJ Card Collector on Twitter and Instagram. How are you doing today, bro?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Hey, the thing that I love, man, is that we are literally on opposite sides of the United States. And here we are having a Zoom meeting. So you're in Florida, I'm in Washington. So here we go. I love technology these days. So how we're going to rock this, man, I got 5 questions, all hobby related. I'm going to throw them at you one right after another. Ready to take on the high five?
Yep, let's do it.
All right, man, you are TJ Card Collector. Talk to me a little bit about who you feel like you are in the sports card world.
I would I like to say, it's an interesting question. A lot of people like to the influencer thing. I'm not I don't like that. I don't like the I got a lot of followers on Twitter and it's nice and everything, but I like to just say I'm like a happy participant.
Hmm.
I buy a lot of stuff, I sell. I don't sell everything. I like to mediate between, making money on some cards, of course, speculating on certain prospects or rookies, but I also have a huge PC. So that's something that, I help fund by selling stuff. So I like to just say I'm a happy participant in the hobby, not trying to, maybe I can show people that you can have a large PC and, flip on the side, not one or
Absolutely.
the other.
Absolutely. And I think there's a balance between the two, right? I mean, I think you can be
Mhm.
the best of both worlds. And I think you do a pretty good job at that. Now, was it collector first or was it buying, selling first for you?
It was collecting first. So I grew up and even at ages like 4 or 5, I would go into, we had a Fred's. I don't think there's any Fred's left anymore, but they always sold it was like repacks, which
Okay.
now is very popular amongst breakers. But the
Yeah.
original repacks for me were like Big Lots and Fred's that had all these
Okay.
old cards. And I would go through and learn all the players and learn where they went to college. And I would collect that and I always collected Alabama players,
Yeah.
their pro cards, their rookie cards. So yeah, just it started out as collecting and then got back into it. I took a break from like 2012 to 2017, ages 12 to 17 ish.
Yep.
Um,
Pretty
dabbled into it
standard.
around 18, and then I started buying a lot and selling
Mhm.
and flipping just as a way to make it through college without having a job. So
Yeah.
I turned it into my job then, and I've been got really back into. I wanted it to be like I said, like I'm funding my own PC
Mhm.
without, obviously I didn't have a job, so
Sure.
in turn, but now I'm an accountant and I can use that money for both purposes. So it
Oh,
started out as collecting and it's kind of evolved.
well, let's get into the second question then, because this kind of jumps right in there. Like you started collecting, being a collector early. Who'd you credit as some of your influences as far as your early collecting goes?
I would really say my dad. Ironically, I never knew my grandfather. He passed when I was very young, but he was a card collector as well. And my dad didn't collect too much. He collected other things, big coin collector.
Okay.
So that was kind of the start for me. Is like I and the Alabama thing. That was my biggest thing. Was like the sports in Alabama. I just wanted to know everything about sports
Mhm.
and everything about Alabama and its history. So I did that through cards, and I credit my dad to that.
Now, you said your dad doesn't collect cards though. So how did you feel like? What was that? Because I was in the same boat. My dad did not collect cards, but I collected cards, and so he would go to the card shops with me. He would kind of hang out with me. I'd show him what I got. Was it a similar feel between you and your dad?
Yeah, I would mainly it was just me buying the cards and him like telling me about all the players. So I grew up a
Exactly.
big
Totally.
Braves fan,
Yeah.
big Braves fan. So I'd always get all the Braves cards. I would always get all the Alabama players who I wasn't even alive to see, like or very early in my year or age, like Sean Alexander and
Oh yeah.
thinking back Bobby Humphrey, some players like that that were shout out to your Seahawks,
Yeah,
Sean
there we go.
Alexander. But yeah, so it was more like that, and then it's kind of evolved. He likes to open boxes a lot now.
Okay.
Always grew up with the scratch off tickets, and he looks at it kind of like that. Like
Hmm.
instead of buying scratch off tickets, he buys just any retail wax or anything that he just wants to
Right.
open with me, and we always split it down the middle.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've had some good hits, and that's how I make memories now. Is just
That's
you
cool.
know rather than collecting, just opening boxes with him, and he knows all the players, and still,
Mhm.
we're both sports nerds, so that's how it started out. It's just him telling me about it, and now he's in it with me.
That's fantastic, man. Oh, I love that connection, man. I feel the same thing with my kids. I got 3 boys, and I feel that same connection. When I see them opening packs, it's fun to tell them inform them a little bit about who they're looking at when they're looking at these cool shiny cards. So,
Right.
as you get into the kind of the more buying, selling business side, was there anyone you kind of looked to as far as like an influence in your life when it came to the buying, selling aspect of the hobby?
Yeah, I would say I have, two very best friends in the hobby that I would not have known outside of cards, and one of them's Ryan Cards LLC.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Everybody knows Ryan.
Mhm.
Him and I got to know each other about, dang, it's been almost 5 years now,
Mm.
and met each other in Dallas, and then, he takes a lot of chances, and I'm usually risk adverse, so I like to, early on especially, he kind of like pushed me, you gotta, if you want to make money, you have to do this, this, and this, and
Sure.
that's something I took. And then another one, I actually got him to start going flying out for shows. And now he's passed me as far as going to shows. But Raul, his at Slaga Cards, and he's not as active on Twitter. He buys and sells on there, but not he doesn't have like a huge presence. But he's everybody in the card show scene knows him from he
Okay.
flies everywhere, and he really I would say pushes me. I don't know about influence, but I would say pushes. I don't want to give him too much credit. But that's really the two that I kind of look to when I need advice or when I need, what do you think this is worth? Or what do
Yeah.
what would you pay for this? What do you think is where do you think the margin is on this? So I'd say those two, and they're two of my very best friends.
Love it, man. Love it, again. Well, shout out those guys, both on Twitter. Shout out those dudes. I've tried to get Ryan on a high five a handful of times, but that guy is very busy, so it's
Oh yeah,
hard to get in touch
always
with him.
going.
I'll message him and then like 2 weeks later he'll message me back and be like, "Hey, I can do it tomorrow." I'm like, sorry, I
Yeah.
got stuff going on. So, shout out those dudes, great dudes. All right, let's talk a little bit about you. Like you talked a little bit
Mhm.
about you, the collector. So let's get into the collector mindset. For you as a collector, is there a grail item for you out there, like a card that you've always wanted to have in your collection, and if you had it, it would never leave? What's the card and why?
I've got a few. I think I've actually knocked off a few this year.
Okay.
A lot of them are Alabama centric. So Nick Saban, retired. So you've seen a lot more of those pop up. There is one, my Grail card. I know who has it. It's a close friend of mine, but it's a Nick Saban team logo flawless card with the diamonds all in it and everything. And hopefully that's something I can get one day. I don't know if he'll let it go, but that's really my Grail card. Previously, it was an exquisite auto, and they're very hard to come by because Alabama exquisite autos are for Nick Saban all go to like one guy has almost all of them.
Got it.
So I think there were like four out there that he doesn't have in the whole run for 2014, and that was well, I ended up getting one of them on eBay. So
Okay.
I was lucky enough to get that. So that was my previous Grail. So now I've moved on to wanting the 101, but I don't know if it's obtainable.
Which you know who has it, and you know
Yeah,
he's an Alabama fan, so that's like
it's
that's
a
a
hard
tough.
ask because I tell people, like there's stuff that I just wouldn't move, and I may trade some stuff here and there.
Yeah,
I traded a big one the other day for Nick Saban signed football that commemorated a national championship, which,
nice.
that's it's one thing for another, not, selling. So
And Nick Saban and Alabama are like hand in hand, man. Like, though
yeah,
that's the guy. I mean, that guy can probably doesn't pay for a meal when he goes out in Alabama. So,
right, right.
oh, all right, man. Well, let's get a little bit more broader. Let's talk a little bit more about products. So, you got all the money in the world. You can rip any box you want in hobby history. What box are you going to rip and why?
I'm gonna hit you with two. I think one of them would be either 2013 or 2014 exquisite football, just because I want to pull a Saban auto. I don't know how. I know there's only like three out there probably that aren't, in a collection. Um, but I would love to just have it a chance, just the excitement of maybe pulling it.
For sure.
Other than that, I think 2003 exquisite basketball, just because I think, obviously the LeBron James, and that's my goat.
Yeah.
I know Michael Jordan's obvious. I think he's actually the actual GOAT, but for my generation, you
Yeah.
look at LeBron James and to be able to pull something that's iconic, I think would be something really cool.
Yeah.
So, and obviously I would have to have a lot of money to do that. So, and I'm not the most risk-taking person. So,
Oh, yeah. I mean, and box breaking we know is the biggest risk there is. So,
Absolutely. It's just
but
gambling.
when you think about that 2003 class, I mean, a lot of times LeBron gets the hype, but there are some big names in that. You know, D Wade, Carmelo,
Mhm.
Bosh, Darko Milicic. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But you know, like there's a lot of good names in that class, kind of like 96, 97. I mean, in the NBA, there's Kobe, but then you got Iverson, you got Ray Allen, you got Kerry Kittles, you got Marcus Camp. I mean, there's a lot of names in that 2003 class. So
Right.
just because it's not LeBron, I mean, there's still probably something worthwhile in those boxes. So,
And they have a lot of the Jordan autos in there as well.
oh, that's
So you get
yeah,
a
very
lot of
true, very true,
you get
very
a lot of firepower with the 2003, especially, encapsulating all the greats and everything. As far as you got Kobe autos in there, you got,
true.
Jordan, then you get all the rookie class. So
Yeah,
it'd be a
very
fun
true.
product, most definitely.
Oh, I think it'd be a great product. I think it'd be a great, grand old time. So, all right, well, let's get to the last question here. Obviously, you're kind of newer in like the hobby world, I would say, being a young collector,
Mhm.
doing the buying, selling stuff. Like, how do you think the hobby's different? Like, because a lot of times we get, oh, that's the old guard, and that's the young bucks. But like, how do you think the hobby's different today than maybe it was for collectors doing the hobby in the 90s? Like, what do you think the big differences are today versus 1990 hobby?
I think I can't speak to it as much, not being I wasn't born until 2000, but I think honestly, I would say the money driven side of it, and I think it's a lot of prospecting.
Hmm.
I think there was a lot more respect for the older players back then, and I guess I made 2 points there: money driven and the older player respect. But you look back and you've got, like, say, a wide receiver this year like Puka Nakua or Tank Dell, in the current class that's releasing with Prism, and they're autographs and their limited cards are going to be way outpricing, the Larry Fitzgerald rookies and stuff
Hmm.
like that, and Julio especially. And you're talking about Hall of Famers. So I
Yeah.
think, and maybe you can speak on this a little bit more, but I feel like back then there was an equal level of respect and not as much prospecting, which can be
Yeah.
profitable, certainly. But as you see, you're going to have people that prospect wrong, obviously, and that's a fun part of it too. But I think it goes back to the money driven side of it. People are looking for return,
Mm.
and I think the main focus of the hobby today is on up and coming and not necessarily the greats.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on there as far as, but the product itself has changed as well.
Mhm.
We now have products that are more rookie driven than ever before in the history of sports cards. I mean, you
Right.
look at guys in their rookies. I mean, you got 900 plus variations of rookie cards when back then you had one, two, or three base rookie cards. So I think you're right. I think the perspective of collectors has changed because the sports cards themselves have changed as well.
And I think we'll see. I'm interested to see when Fanatics takes over how things change, because if you think about it, we're looking back and you're trying to compare apples to oranges when you're talking about, okay, Panini products of now, you got Prism. So maybe, who's to say if say Ben Roethlisberger or like Drew Brees or even Tom Brady had a Prism rookie card with the parallels, then you can compare, okay, well, how
Yeah,
much does a gold Prism Tom Brady rookie compare to that?
for
Now
sure.
that Fanatics is coming back, we're not going to have
Yeah,
that same, level of comparison. So we're not going to be able to, it's kind of like looking back now versus, in 2011 when Julio came out. You're
yeah,
having a Topps Chrome Julio auto and you're comparing it to a Prism auto,
mm,
and I don't necessarily think those two are the same.
for sure.
It's the same thing with baseball. It's like you can't look at someone's Upper Deck '89, Griffey
Mm,
versus the current first Bowman Chrome auto.
yes,
It's a hard comparison. So maybe it's not related to as much older players. Maybe it's related to, what everybody knows today and what the younger collectors know today.
absolutely, absolutely, 100%, 100%. Hey, let's do a bonus question here. If you
Mhm.
were to give some advice to a person who's just getting in the hobby now, obviously, for me, I got that 90s perspective into today's, but someone just getting the hobby today, like what is a simple piece of advice that you would give to somebody who wanted to start collecting cards today that was your age?
Okay, I would say focus on what you like. And as far as the collection purpose,
Mm,
and have a split. I think it's easy to make money, and that can be the focus of a lot of people, but you don't want it to become like a job.
mm,
For me, I think the biggest thing was, like, when I got bored, because I was selling wax and doing all that during the COVID boom and everything, and it was fun because money's fun.
mm,
But you need to have something that you're looking for on eBay every day.
Yeah.
I check eBay like 3 times a day to see if stuff that's popped up from my PC.
For
And
sure.
it's you have to have an even split if you're going to do, even if you just buy and sell to fund your PC, have a split that makes sense to you and know when, the limit's the limit.
Yeah.
Don't try to spend beyond your means to keep up with everyone else. Kind of let that natural growth happen. You're not going to jump from just getting into it to buying, $5,000 cards. That's not what it's about. It's let yourself have a natural growth, learn about things, and get advice from people that you trust and not people that have just a lot of followers or are making YouTube videos. And no shade to those guys. They're, vessels of information, but really let yourself dive into it and collect what you like. And outside of that, I would surround yourself with people who want the best for you. And as far as, the money side of it, you want people that are going to cheer you on and not try to take advantage of you. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that will try to take advantage of you being new.
For sure. Man, you are wise beyond your years, my friend. That is the perfect advice. I feel like just well done. Well, I got nothing else to say. We cleared the list. Let's high five. Throw it up at the end, high five it up. Boom. You can follow TJ at TJ Card Collector on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure to slap that follow on both those of my guy TJ. Also, subscribe to the channel, Dizzy Dub One. Follow me on Twitter at Mr. K-Dub. Shout out to our High Five endorsers, Midwest Box Breaks, and LJ's Card Shop. Dude, thank you so much. This was such a great conversation. I appreciate you taking the time to do it. So thanks for joining me.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, y'all take care. Catch you guys next time on the next episode of the High Five.